and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar with your hosts, myself, Rory Petre, and of course, Mark Broadhurst in Nuremberg. Hope you're all well. I guess we're all still cooped up in various national lockdowns, so I hope everyone's keeping well. But at least the football's still going, and there's another entertaining weekend of Bundesliga action of match week 20. We did have one postponement actually because of the weather. Lots of snow and storms going around, so unfortunately Armenia did fall to the weather, but we still got lots of Bundesliga action to talk about in our usual show. So welcome along if you're coming back to us. If you're new and you like the show, please do subscribe. It always helps us. We're trying to push those subscribers numbers up. So yeah, if you watched a few times, you haven't clicked the red button yet, please do so. That would be fantastic. And if you're listening on an audio platform, as always, please do leave us a rating and a review. So yeah, business as usual. We'll go over to Mark now for Mark's mystery anagram to go through last week's and of course reveal this week's new one as well. So without further ado, Mark, over to you.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's just recap the one from week 19 last week, which, as you can see on the bottom of your screen, was Inhaler Birth. So we had two people who got the correct answer to this anagram this week. Yeah, so I'm just going to put your names up on the bottom of the screen. So congratulations to one of our regular watchers, actually two of our regular watchers. We had Gary Jones, yeah, who I know is a big fan of our show and also of the League One show as well. And also Sprechen Sie Fußball as well. So thank you very much, guys. I don't know if you're a German guy or a British or American guy. It'd be interesting to know where you're from, actually, Sprechen Sie Fußball. So if you can, yeah, obviously you've got a German name. Do you speak football? Literally, yeah. So, yeah, it'd be great to hear where are you from, Sprechen Sie Fußball. So, yeah, but congratulations anyway for getting the correct answer, which was indeed, I didn't show you before, it was Hertha Berlin. Okay, it was Hertha Berlin. Obviously a snowy match up in Berlin this Friday night, which we'll talk a bit more about later. So yeah, so let's just have a look at this week 20 now. Wow, the season's progressing quickly, isn't it? We're already on to week 20 now. We've got another 14 matches after this week. So yeah, let's have a look at the week 20's Mark's mystery anagram. So as you can see, it is reversal lingo. It's two words, reversal lingo. So if you want to take a pen, if you are watching at home, I'm just going to read it for you slowly. Remember, if you're listening on our podcast, obviously you can't see the screen. So just take a pen and write it down for later reference. If you have a few minutes at work free, you can try and do this anagram. So yeah, so it's the first word is reversal, R-E-V-E-R-S-A-L. And the second word is lingo. So it's L-I-N-G-O. Reversal lingo. So remember, it has to be something related to the Bundesliga. It can either be a club, a player, / head coach, or manager. So yeah, it has to be something related to the top tier of the Bundesliga. So yeah, enjoy. Let's see if you can get Mark's mystery anagram for week 20. Remember to comment and yeah, let us know what you think your answers are. We're getting more and more comments each week, which is really, really good. We had a good reaction to our prediction show as well. So it's fantastic that we're getting more and more people commenting and really interacting with us because we want to know more about our viewers and what you guys think as well. So that brings an end to the recap of the anagram for this week. So let's have a look at the results for week 20. So as Rory said before, there were only 8 games this week because obviously the Bielefeld versus Werder Bremen game got cancelled due to heavy snow in North Rhine-Westphalia. So let's have a look at the results from this weekend. So Friday night we had Hertha Berlin 0, Bayern 1, another home defeat for Hertha Berlin. Maybe a little bit better performance though. We had Augsburg 0, Wolfsburg 2, another win for Wolfsburg. We had Leverkusen 5, Stuttgart 2. I think we predicted goals in this one, Rory, and we weren't wrong. Yeah, a good match there in the Bayer Arena. Then we had the shock of the weekend. We had Freiburg 2, Dortmund 1. But I'm not even sure whether you call it a shock. nowadays, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. We had a home win for Mainz, 1-0 against Union, the third win of the season for Mainz. Then we had a predictable 3-0 win away at Schalke for RB Leipzig, who remained second. Then we had the derby, the Rhine derby, wasn't it, this week? Yeah, and it was a fantastic win for Cologne, getting revenge for their defeat at home to Gladbach earlier in the season. They got a 2-1 win in Gladbach. And then the only game on Sunday was a 3-1 win for ridiculously high-flying Frankfurt against continuously faltering Hoffenheim. So, yeah, a good weekend of football. So let's try and dissect in a bit more detail now what went on. So let's have a look. So let's have a look at OTB's featured four for the week. So it was pretty tricky to choose 4 games from this week in truth, but yeah, we did manage to do that. And we're going to start with the shock of the weekend, which was indeed Freiburg's 2-1 win at home to faltering Dortmund, which was actually Dortmund's 8th defeat of the season, 8 losses in 20 games. You couldn't have imagined that when we started the season in February. But yeah, I mean, this was an entertaining game, Rory. What was your analysis on that one?
Yeah, it was a good game. I think it was one certainly that you could have easily predicted where both teams would score. The way that both teams' attack is entertaining, and certainly the way the Dortmund are defending. You kind of thought that if Freiburg played close to their potential, they would create all sorts of problems for the Dortmund defence, and that proved so. Obviously, the 2 goals they actually score aren't necessarily because Dortmund have been cut in half by slick passing moves or anything like that. It's purely because the first goal they don't really get out Chong quick enough, and the defenders are probably like, yeah, you can have a hit from there. He hits it clean, and ultimately the standing keeper at the moment doesn't react well. Or well enough to it, can't get his legs moving, and it goes in. It is a good hit. So that's obviously 1-0 just into the second half, that is. And then, if you're Dortmund, you need to try and react well, consolidate, keep the game at 1-0 for a bit and then push on. But no, the absolute opposite happens, and then the ball falls nicely for Schmidt, far out on the right-hand side of the box, and he hits it as well, chances his arm. And again, it's a clean hit, but it goes straight through, hits his hands, hits the post, and then goes in off him to add insult to injury. So obviously that's 2-0. Still lots of time in the game to go, but you're kind of thinking that, if anything, Freiburg will score more goals. And then to credit Dortmund, they did come back into it. A few subs that were made did make an impact. Of course, the young lad Moukoko came on for Marco Reus and did make an impact because Haaland played him in, and he finished well actually. The youngster did have chances before and after that actually to potentially get an equaliser, potentially an undeserved one as well, really. But he fluffed his lines, especially the one right at the end. I think he actually slips, so it's a bit unfortunate really for him. But yeah, obviously, looking back to our show last week, where we had Josh on from JJD TV, go and watch that if you haven't already. We were chatting a lot about Dortmund, how he was quite encouraged by the win that they'd had that week. Maybe a few different tweaks, formations, but at the moment, if you haven't got the players, you can only do so much with formations. And goalkeepers is a huge thing as well at the moment. We've already spoken how they're lacking a top-class coach. There's a lot going wrong at the moment for Dortmund. So, yeah, that's a big issue for them. They're slipping down. They're fortunate that they're still in the race for the top 4 for me, really, because in another season where there had been more points collected by all the other teams, I think they wouldn't really have a chance. They still do, so they'll be happy about that. But now Freiburg are well in the equation after a fantastic performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a long, sustained run of form, really, from Freiburg. I think they're on a run of 7 wins from 11 games now. So, I mean, it's a sustained run. That was their 8th win of the season this year. For me, I think Probably the biggest point in this game was a difference in the goalkeepers, really. I mean, I think one point that you didn't mention is the Florian Müller, the Hoffenheim goalkeeper, not the Hoffenheim, the Freiburg goalkeeper, made a great save from Haaland as well. I think he kind of slid in. He looked as though it would be in for all the world. And not only did the keeper save it, but he made sure that Haaland couldn't get back and have a rebound as well, which I thought that was a key save because, I mean, if Dortmund go 1-0 ahead, you'd still strongly fancy them to win the game, you know, because for Freiburg, they are an attacking side. And they're a side that want to play on the front foot, really. I think like they'd have tried to press the game very hard. And I think they could potentially have lost 2 or 3-0 if they could have gone ahead. But yeah, I mean, they get in at 0-0. And then, I mean, the first 10 minutes are just a disaster, aren't they, for Dortmund? It's just Marvin hits. I mean, it's just not good enough at the end of the day, is it? It's just... I mean, at times this season, the goalkeeping hasn't been great in the Bundesliga, to be honest. I've got to be honest. I think there's been a lot of mistakes from a lot of goalkeepers, really. But, I mean, Dortmund have got serious issues. And I think, I mean, obviously they have been talking about a replacement, but the only replacement that's really been touted recently is Peter Gulazzi from RB Leipzig. And, I mean, he's another goalkeeper that we've said before that we're not a massive fan of on the show as well. So it's just... yeah, I mean, it does seem as though the Bundesliga is a bit short of top quality goalkeepers. But I mean, yeah, I've got to be honest, Florian Müller has been one of the better ones in recent weeks for Freiburg. They're an attacking side, so he has to face a lot of shots. So yeah, I mean, fair play to him. That was a big save. Football's all about these small moments, isn't it? You know, and it's just like if he doesn't make that save, the 1-0 down just before half time, and you'd imagine Dortmund going to win 2-1, 2-0, something like that. But then within 10 minutes of the second half, the 2-0 down and pretty much out of the game, really. And it's just Freiburg are in too much confidence to let a 2-0 lead slip at the minute. And I wouldn't say they held on confidently, but like relatively confidently, really. It's just, and yeah, it's a famous win for them, really, for Freiburg. They don't get many wins against the kind of very big boys like your Bayerns and your Dortmunds. So fair play to them, really.
Yeah, it's a big swing in the points as well in the table because Freiburg are now only 2 points off Dortmund. Obviously, if the result goes the other way, you know, Dortmund are looking a lot more comfortable. That's brought Freiburg. Well, they're already in the conversation for, say, top 6, but now all of a sudden, I mean, why not target top 4? It's such a strange season. Only, well, months and months ago, we were talking about how Freiburg were, you know, hanging on to their coattails to even stay in the division. That seems like a long, long time ago now. But yeah, fair play to them. They've turned their season completely around, and it was, yeah, thoroughly deserved win.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players in that Freiburg side who you can say are really having good seasons. You know, obviously Grifo we've mentioned a lot, but also Jong now. Like, it does seem that with the Bundesliga, this happens a lot, doesn't it? Like, players just come from nowhere, really, and they have a stretch of, like, maybe 5-10 games where they just kill it. And Woo Young-jong is on that run at the moment. I think that's 3 goals in 5 games now, 4 goals in 7 games. And, I mean, it's just like, obviously, Demirovic as well has been on great form the whole season, really. And Höhler is a good player. Santa Maria is starting to prove his transfer fee. I think they paid a relatively hefty 10 million euros for him. And I think for a team like Freiburg, that's a lot of money, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's just turned into a great season for them. It's just, I mean, for a side like Freiburg, they just want to stay in the division. And as it happens, they're still in the race for top 6 at least, maybe even top 4. So yeah, fair play to them and Christian Streik's men. So let's move on to probably the game of the weekend in terms of entertainment. It was indeed Leverkusen versus Stuttgart, which ended in a fantastic 5-2 win for Bayer Leverkusen. Obviously, they've been on a terrible run. I think they'd lost 5 of the previous 6 before this game, or 5 of the previous 7. So yeah, they're going to be really happy to be not only amongst the wins, but amongst the goals as well. Rory, what did you make of that one?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels a bit similar to earlier on in the season where Leverkusen were kind of stumbling through their opening few games, and then I think they put 5 or 6 goals in the Europa League. I think it was against Nice, if memory serves me well. And then from that point on, they just used it as the building blocks of their first half of the season, and that pushed them onto a really good run of form. You've got to kind of try and use this as a catalyst, really, for a real strong push now for Leverkusen. yeah, the game itself was really entertaining. Leverkusen came out strong. Diaby and Bailey were really, really good from both sides of Schick. Obviously, the manager, I think, has now seen sense to actually start with an actual striker rather than just chucking poor little Florian Wirtz up front, well, as a false nine or whatever you want to call it. So the team had a bit more of a better balance, I think. I certainly think that Stuttgart's defence this season has sometimes left a bit to be desired. They do concede goals, and so that's probably something to target. I do like Kempf in the back, but sometimes when they play with this back three, the wing backs, so for example, Silas was effectively playing as a wing back, which I'm not entirely sure he's always comfortable with, because he's a lot better utilised in that freer role where he doesn't really have to defend that much, because a lot of the time Leverkusen were kind of picking those areas, the gap between the widest centre-back and the full-back, or the wing-back, so to speak, and they were getting in with ease. And it happens certainly with the second goal where Demirbay is played in quite nicely, and it's just through on goal, and obviously just puts it through Kobel's legs to make it 2-0. And then obviously Stuttgart lost their talisman, I think, in the first half with Gonzalez having to go off. However, the sub didn't do a bad job at all, as Kaladzic came on and bagged himself a brace. Two really well taken goals, actually, especially the second one from Eric Tommy's cross. Really nice finish off the post. They gave themselves a chance, Stuttgart, in the second half. They got it back to 2-1 at one stage, but then Leverkusen came straight back and scored to make it 3-1 really quickly, and then 4-1, and then the game's dead. Leverkusen needed this absolutely more so than Stuttgart did. Stuttgart are literally the definition of a mid-table team. They're not really in the conversation anymore for messing around with top six. They're certainly not in the conversation for me in terms of relegation. So I think they can just concentrate on building for next season, really. And for me, the area that they need to improve on is defence. They obviously, you don't want to ship goals in the Bundesliga, but obviously it's one thing we love about the league is seeing goals go flying in, and I love their approach to the game. So that's something that they might want to address. But Leverkusen looked really good. Bailey and Diaby looked on fire. So it was a really good win for Leverkusen, and can they use this now to push forward to try and get themselves back in that top four?
Yeah, absolutely. I think another issue for Stuttgart as well is that they don't seem to be able to get like that fantastic 11 that was starting the season in such good form on the pitch together. That's the problem. I mean, obviously we mentioned last week that Castro went off injured. He didn't play any part. He's a very key player because it's a young team apart from him. I mean, he's like the godfather of that team, really, isn't he? So he's got so much experience, and he's also been a quality player too. I mean, young Roberto Massimo replaced him, and I think that's his first start in the Bundesliga today. I mean, as we mentioned, obviously in the Bundesliga, you do see this quite often. Players just come out of the blue and they do really well. But I mean, I think the problem is with Stuttgart, as you say, they can't get that full 11, the first strength 11 on the pitch, And I think obviously Gonzalez has started to pick up a few injuries now as well. He went off. I mean, Kaladzic is a very, very capable replacement. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that's 6 or 7 league goals he's got, and he's barely started all season. Yeah. So, I mean, he's something of a super sub, really. So he's still a good player. But, I mean, Gonzalez is like your talisman, really. And I know that he's also been linked with Dortmund, I think, recently too, and Leverkusen as well. So there's a few teams that are looking at him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave in the summer, to be honest with you. And I would like to see him get a run of games again like he did at the start of the season, because I think, with a newly promoted side like Stuttgart, they're not going to have bags of strength in depth. And you're going to see like young players replacing first team players. And I just want to see, I also think maybe Wataru Endo has kind of gone off form a little bit after a very good start to the season. He was one of my favourite players for them the first 10 games or so. He's not been quite as influential. Fundu is, Silas has still been absolutely brilliant as well. He's, but as you say, I mean, maybe they're a bit too attacking, because I don't think he's really set up to be a wing back, to be honest with you. It's too much. He's your kind of flair player, really. In amongst the front, you can't have him doing too much defensively as well. And I just think, maybe the team is a little bit too attacking. Also, as you mentioned about the defense, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Mavropanos, to be honest with you. Like my team, Nuremberg, had him on loan from Arsenal at the end of last season, and he was useless, to be honest with you. And I was very shocked to see that Stuttgart signed him in the Bundesliga, in truth, because Nuremberg fans just wanted him out of the door as quickly as possible, to be honest with you. And I don't really think he's done well anywhere, has he, to be honest? And I think, I mean, he is a first choice. I mean, they play a back three, you know, and I mean, he is a first choice centre half for them. And I just, not for me, I'm sorry. Yeah, as you say, Kempf is pretty capable, but perhaps Anton and Mavropanos are not the most able, you know. But I mean, this is the first season back in the Bundesliga. It's about they just needed to stay up, and they've done very well. I mean, they're still having a good season ultimately, but it has tailed off a little bit since Christmas, let's be honest.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add give credit to Leverkusen, particularly for the fourth goal, which was a really, really nice team goal, actually. One of the best team goals I think we've seen this season, where they win it in Stuttgart's half, play it forward. Some really nice interchange up to the edge of the area, and Diaby's little dink into the area for Wirtz to run onto perfectly, and then lob the keeper with that header was fantastic. So superb for that. And another interesting, with regards to the goal scorer of the fifth goal, Demarai Gray on loan from Leicester on his debut. I think he's a player who could really suit the Bundesliga, actually. It'd be nice to see him hit his straps. Not quite worked out at Leicester for him, so I think that could be a good move for him. So we'll keep a close eye on how he goes, because in theory Leverkusen got plenty of talent going forward now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of Demarai Gray, actually. Yeah, I always liked him at Leicester, but I just think he's perhaps not suited to the Premier League, because you need to do a lot of kind of teamwork and tracking back, whereas I think he's just an out-and-out attacker, really. He's an out-and-out wide player, isn't he? And I think, but I can definitely see him getting goals in the Bundesliga without doubt, yeah. And obviously Fosu Mensah as well starting today, which is quite interesting as a Man United fan, I would imagine.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him get a good run. He's certainly someone who had loads of potential, and we always wanted him to see him in a Man United shirt and have a good run. But it never happened. Again, it might be that the Bundesliga suits him more as a player. Certainly, probably see him more as a centre back as his career goes on. But hopefully he does well at Leverkusen.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the Rhine derby now. So this was an interesting match. I think most people would have had this down as a Gladbach win. But FC Cologne, they've made a habit of winning these big games away from home. Obviously, they won at Dortmund as well. Another team to beat Dortmund, obviously, and now they get another kind of Big Five win against Gladbach as well. And I mean, they've started to attack more for me. I think early on in the season, they were a very conservative, cagey side. And I think we've just seen the manager has just changed tack, hasn't he, basically? And he said, let's just have a go. They've started to play more like a typical Bundesliga side who do attack. They do break forward in numbers. We saw it when they played Schalke away from home a while back. They got a goal on the break. And I mean, the same this weekend. You know, it's been a fantastic result for them, that, Rory.
Yeah, it was indeed. I completely agree with what you're saying, actually, in terms of how they've changed their approach a little bit. They are just being more positive, trying to go after teams. And it just goes to show, when you actually try to attack teams, you generally get your rewards, especially in the Bundesliga, because we've already alluded to sometimes the quality of defending and goalkeepers certainly this season has been lacking. I mean, they played really well, actually. It was in a typically, fairly ferocious and high tempo and high emotive game. There's certainly a good few yellow cards being brandished out in the game. I think Stindl got booked after a minute, actually. So it pretty much summed up the approach by both teams. I think ever since Cologne's win against Schalke, I think it was, where they won it late on, I think they've just since then relaxed into it and thought that was a big win for them ultimately, beating Schalke, and now it's just given them this more relaxed approach where they think they can actually go out and have a bit more of a go at teams. They've got maybe not as much pressure on them. Obviously, there's still table pressure in terms of points and where they sit, but all of a sudden the league is looking a lot more presentable for them, certainly in terms of being away from that 17th position. looking at the table now, they're a good amount of points away. I think they're 8 points away from 17th. So that's a good little bumper for them. Another huge result for them. In terms of the game itself, the goals, the first goal was a really nice pass in from Duda to set up. I'm probably going to embarrass myself here for my attempt to pronounce his name, so apologies to the player and all you Cologne fans out there. Becher latches on to the through ball from Duda, and his finish is actually deflected after he kind of cuts back and beats Sommer in net. And then Gladbach ultimately get themselves back in the game via Florian Neuhaus. But if we're talking about deflections, I think Neuhaus's one was even worse in terms of it hit one player, then hit the shins of another, and then goes in the opposite side of the goal. So Timo Horn has no chance with that one. But that didn't kind of, burst the bubble, so to speak, of Cologne. They reacted well. There were still chances for both sides. I'd only say half chances for Gladbach, really. Cologne did look really dangerous, and then it obviously proved to be the case. But I mean, obviously, Gladbach have shot themselves in the foot with the second goal. Cologne tried to get the ball forward, and Gladbach recovered the ball. They're trying to now play out, tiki-taka from the back, from a high press from Cologne. They win the ball as it's intercepted by the goal scorer, and it kind of falls nicely for him. And it's kind of a bit in between him and Sommer. Sommer kind of half comes out and then leaves a really easy, presentable chance, and the striker, is able to place it under Sommer's legs, and it's going to basically an empty net. It was a really tidy finish, actually. And then there you go. That's the match winner in the end. So yeah, fair play to Cologne. It's a huge result for them. Gladbach will be incredibly deflated. Obviously, a big derby, big chance to kickstart the second half of their season. But yeah, went to pot for them, really.
Yeah, I think the key for Cologne as well is I think the big summer signing was Andre Duda as well. Like, they got him from Hertha Berlin. He'd been like first choice for Hertha Berlin for years before that. And like when I saw Hertha Berlin play away in Nuremberg, I was really impressed with him. For me, he was their best player. And like I was quite shocked to see him go to Cologne. I was quite shocked to see. I mean, obviously Hertha Berlin, they probably thought like, let's try and get bigger, a higher caliber of player or whatever. But yeah, he was like a really good signing for them. And to be honest, he didn't start the season very well, in truth. He seemed to be struggling to get used to playing maybe in a more defensive style of football. But recently he's really come good. I think since Christmas and maybe just before Christmas. And yeah, as you say, another good assist this weekend for him. Yeah, I think also they've shown a bit of ambition as well. They got obviously Emmanuel Dennis as well from Club Brugge as a good signing, a very, very fast striker. I mean, he came off after about an hour in this game, but still, he's another player that I can see doing well at a Bundesliga level. I think for the first half of the season, they struggled to replace Cordoba, who went the other way to Hertha Berlin. He was obviously the talisman from last season. But yeah, I mean, they could have a good player there, And I think, yeah, I mean, obviously they got Max Meyer as well. He didn't come on today. Probably wasn't his kind of game, but a player that could potentially rekindle his form at Cologne. So I think, yeah, I mean, things are looking good for them. They're 4 points clear of the relegation zone now, of the relegation playoff place, and they're like 8 points clear of the automatic place. And I don't think they need to worry about automatic relegation. I think it's just about, I mean, they don't even need to worry about relegation at all at the moment. They just need to keep trying to pick up results and improving performance levels, which they are doing really well. I think, again, obviously with Gladbach, I don't understand Marco Rose's team selection at times. I really don't. I mean, I understand that they played midweek in the Cup, and they played a full team in that game with Thuram and Plea, and now they're playing a derby in the league when they need to get top four and they're resting both players. I don't understand it. I mean, whether he wants silverware, I would imagine that is the situation. Obviously, they beat Stuttgart in the Cup in midweek. Maybe he wants to win a cup, or maybe he's got orders to go for the cup. But I mean, to me, obviously coming from the Premier League, teams always kind of prioritize the league over the cup, always, really, even the lesser teams. And I just find it a bit strange. At times, the team selection in the league, it's almost like they just said, okay, we don't care about the league this year. We just want to focus on the Champions League and the cups. I mean, they've not done that badly. I mean, they're still in what? They're still only the seventh and only 4 points adrift of Champions League positions. But I think really with the quality in that team, I mean, so much quality. You know, Kramer, Stindl. There's no end of quality. I mean, they should probably be getting top four this year, really, Rory.
Yeah, I agree. I think based on the best starting 11 that they could put out there, it's more than good enough to compete, and it's probably one of the best four teams in the Bundesliga. But yeah, form, personnel. Obviously lots of whispers about the manager potentially going, over to Dortmund at the end of the season. It probably kind of creates a bit of a hostile, atmosphere around the club. Hopefully not, and hopefully they can turn things around. But right now, obviously, it's not kind of producing what you'd call a stable environment for consistent football, which obviously is proving the case because they win, they lose, they draw. It's very inconsistent.
Absolutely. So let's go on to the final featured four game this week, which was yet another win for Frankfurt. That's now 7 wins in 8 games, and the other win was a draw. The other match was a draw. So that's 22 points in 8 games they've collected now. I mean, it's just superb, isn't it? Obviously today, I mean, for me, they were well on top in the first half. I think they were pretty dominant in that first half, really. They perhaps could have got another goal or two. But then they had a rare setback, obviously, with the home side equalising just after half-time, with another assist from Kramaric, with obviously Bebu, who was our zero of the week last week. He banged in a goal to kind of redeem himself a little bit. But nothing seems to be keeping Frankfurt down at the moment. And obviously, a bit of an unsung hero, Evan and Dicker, getting the goal from a Philip Kostic assist. And then good old Andre Silva with yet another goal from yet another Kostic assist, who got a goal and 2 assists in this game. I mean, what another great performance, really, Rory.
Yeah, very much so. Very well played, Frankfurt. I think, as you said, they were dominant in the first half, and more than a 1 goal lead wouldn't have been unfair. It was kind of billed as Kramaric versus Silva, because obviously we've seen both strikers have good seasons in the mix for the Golden Boot. Well, I say the Golden Boot is probably going to be Lewandowski, isn't it? But the second place to the Golden Boot winner. And ultimately, yeah, Silva's kind of won this round because his team put in an excellent performance. As you alluded to, they did have a setback. Fair play to to Hoffenheim and the manager for bringing on Bebu, because he didn't start the game. Whether that was because of his poor performance the other week, I don't know. I think that's obviously quite possible, but he comes on and makes an instant impact. So well done to him. Proving that he is a quality player, and took his goal really well. And then obviously when you say 1-1, you see a goal go in, and the team that scores it, you presume, kind of go on the front foot. And Hoffenheim were for a little bit, but then Frankfurt just eased back into things. And obviously, as you mentioned, Kostic then, after his goal in the first half, became provider in the second half with the corner for Ndicka, and then obviously setting up Silva for what he does best, getting the perfect header to make it 3-1 and obviously kill the game. I mean, everything's clicking for Frankfurt. Obviously, we've been chatting about it a little bit off air and over our chats and stuff, and saying that right now the formation suits them down to the ground. Everything's working. Every player's doing what they should do. And if things don't go well, they've got the likes of Jovic to come off the bench. If Kamada's starting on the bench, he can come on. Younes is playing really well. He's connecting the dots perfectly. So yeah, I mean, if you have to say right now, would they come in the top 4? I think absolutely. Like, there's absolutely zero reason why they shouldn't do on this form. Obviously, there's a long, long way to go yet. 13, 14 games. Of the Bundesliga season, and things can soon go wrong with injuries or bad form. But yeah, they look like a real side at the moment, a force to be reckoned with, and I look forward to some more tasty games ahead when they play the bigger teams, and games against Wolfsburg and Leipzig and Bayern, the champions. They will be really exciting games to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, even today, though, I mean, Hoffenheim away is no easy game. Like, we've seen, obviously, Bayern, one of their only 2 defeats of the season came at the SAP Arena in Hoffenheim. So, I mean, obviously, I mean, Hoffenheim, they've not gone on to have a great season, let's be honest. I mean, we've talked a lot about their defensive problems. They don't look a particularly motivated team, but I wouldn't say they played badly today, to be honest. But it's a case of Frankfurt just being really, really on it at the moment. And as you say, I mean, as we've mentioned a lot, but there's not a single player in that team that's not playing well at the moment. That's how well they're going, you know. I mean, they've just, especially the midfield and the attack is just absolutely perfect, really. The wing backs, Kostic is, I mean, we said a few weeks ago that he's back to the form of 2 years ago, but I think he's probably gone beyond that as well now. I mean, back then he played more of like a wide player in a front three. Nowadays he plays more of a wing back. But I mean, he seems to be combining brilliantly, you know. And Eric Durm on the other side is just as good, really. Perhaps not, he doesn't get the stats, but I mean, another quality player. It's just a great team, really. And it's Sau is like the kind of like the one that breaks up the play in the midfield. It's just there's not one player in there that's not playing well. And Eunice is, for me, I'll probably have him in the top 2 or 3 young players of the season, to be honest with you. I mean, he's been brilliant since he came into the team, I think, like after 7 or 8 games this year. It's just been a great season, and they go from strength to strength, Frankfurt. And I agree with you. For me, I definitely see them as getting top 4 this year. I really do. Okay, so that concludes our featured 4 for the week. So let's just round up the other 4 games. So yeah, no better place to start by looking at Wolfsburg's 2-0 win over Augsburg. I mean, we talked about Frankfurt and Freiburg's form, but I mean, Wolfsburg are not far off that level themselves, Rory.
Yeah, I think, well, you know, you could very much argue if you're a Wolfsburg fan that they are the form team in the Bundesliga as well, and who could say otherwise? They just have a way at the moment. They kind of at times they look a bit awkward, or sometimes they aren't maybe as free flowing as other teams, but they know how to score goals, and I think we've already mentioned in previous weeks how their defence does the job quite nicely. They've got a good partnership at the back there, good keeper as well. So yeah, I think things are looking quite good for Wolfsburg. The evergreen Weghorst, lovely finish for his goal. Looks on fine form. I think he's dyed his hair as well, which is a bit odd. And yeah, I mean, it could have been more than 2. Baku, I think, had two other goals chalked off for VAR. The first one was really close. I think the first one that was chalked off for offside. So yeah, they were cutting Augsburg to pieces. So yeah, they go from strength to strength in 3rd place. Fantastic for them. I really hope that it continues. Very quickly on Augsburg, they are dropping quite quickly, and I think we said it in previous weeks actually that they get a bit close to the relegation zone, but then they just switch on and think, right, we need a win here, and they find it. So I fully expect them to do that, and then I think they'll be fine in terms of staying out of trouble.
Yeah, I think it's tough for them against teams that are playing so well and teams that have got quality up front. They tend to get the wins more against the lower teams, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, they go to Leipzig next, so that could easily be another defeat. But, yeah, I mean, on Wolfsburg, I would say another player that's really come to the fore in recent weeks is Baku. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Another player that's just kind of come from nowhere, really, and he's been really good since Christmas, So, yeah, I mean, another player who's on form. But, yeah, definitely Wolfsburg, another side who are looking really good for top 4 at the moment. A lot of teams are going to be worried. Your Dortmunds, your Leverkusens, they're going to be worried, really. Yeah. Okay, so obviously Friday night, I think the game was a little bit ruined. I wouldn't say it was a bad game, but I mean it was tarnished a little bit by the weather, I guess. I mean, I think if that was in England, they might just have postponed that game, to be honest with you, because I mean it was really heavy snow in the capital on Friday night, and yeah, I mean also a pretty lucky deflected goal from Coman. It's just Bayern all over in some ways, isn't it? I mean, it's a really lucky goal. The deflection just takes it high enough to go over the keeper and below the bar. It's just rotten luck, that one, Rory.
Yeah, it's horrible to see those ones go in when it's against your team. Obviously big slice of luck. Very unlike Lewandowski to miss the penalty, though. Good save from Jarstein in goal, made up for the fact that he gave it away in the first place, tripping Sane went through on goal. yeah, Bayern obviously did have chances against a struggling team. Hertha, obviously, results haven't gone their way of late, and certainly not this weekend either. So, yeah, I mean, great chance at the end for Matthias Cunha. Played for on goal by Guendouzi. It's got to then obviously finish the chance, and you can get yourself a draw. I think that was in the 87th minute. So yeah, as you alluded to earlier, Mark, small moments in games, obviously decide the result. Bayern ultimately kind of take their opportunity. Obviously, it was a deflected goal, and then Hertha don't. That's the way of football when you're not in form. So they've got to dust themselves down very quickly and hope that they get some points soon, because they are dead in trouble right now, Hertha.
Absolutely. I think they'll be happy that the game between Bielefeld got postponed, to be honest, because obviously if Bielefeld had got a point, they'd have dropped into that relegation playoff. And I mean, we've been saying all year that they've been underperforming, but I mean, bottom three is just absolutely atrocious for a side with some of the names that they've got in the team, really. Yeah. Okay, so obviously the biggest win of the weekend, well, the joint biggest win was Leipzig at Schalke. I mean, usually a 3-0 away win, we'd have it in the top four, the featured four. But I mean, this one was so predictable, really. And the performance was just, I mean, Leipzig had managed 24 shots away from home, compared to 3 from Schalke. It's just not getting better for Schalke, is it, Rory? Let's be honest.
No, it's definitely not. The fact that they've not really been able to call on their big signing, so to speak, in Huntelaar. He's not. I don't think he started. Obviously, they've got Matthew Hopp, who's come to the fore, but I think Huntelaar's now picked up an injury. Certainly wasn't in the Matchday squad. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously a bad start. Coming across a team that, to be fair, RB are playing some really nice stuff. Angelino, again, with 2 more assists. Perfect little tee up for Sabitzer, I think, for the second goal. Again, Sorloth still isn't scoring goals, though. Had a few good chances to bag a few. But yeah, comfortable win for RB. They need to keep on reacting to what Bayern do ultimately, and then hope that they drop points somewhere and then can take advantage. But yeah, I mean, they're doing what they can at the end of the day, playing some nice stuff, look good. Can't see them falling any lower than second unless they, go on a bad spell. But generally speaking, when they don't play well, they at least get a draw, which some teams in the top 4 to 6 don't generally do. So RB look good for second for me right now. And yeah, unless they can catch Bayern, it will be second place.
Yeah, I think another thing in this game was just how easy is it to score against Schalke as well. I mean, obviously they signed Mustafi, who, I mean, I think all fans of the Premier League wouldn't really be that impressed, but I think in Germany they quietly saw it as a decent signing. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the centre of Arsenal's defence for like the last 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure whether that says much, but yeah. I mean, to go to the team that are rock bottom of the Bundesliga, it's quite a coup, I guess. But I mean, he could have got sent off after like 10 minutes. I mean, he went in with like a double-footed challenge. I think the ref gave him a booking and then even checked the VAR whether it was worse. I mean, that would have been like, I think all Premier League fans would have been like, yeah, that's Mustafi all over,
And yeah, and he lost his man for the first goal as well. Mukiele was his man. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they've got 2 Arsenal defenders in there now, obviously, for Schalke fans, you kind of say, yeah, just fill in a few gaps. It might do all right for now, but it could be disastrous really if they carry over their Arsenal form. Certainly Mustafi, not good.
Yeah. For me, I said to you before the show, Rory. For me, the game at Union next week is absolutely win or bust now. Because I think they've still got to play. I think the week after that they have the Ruhr derby with Dortmund, and again, Dortmund have just got too much going forward for them, and they can't play any team who are good going forward. They just can't even. Like, they create so many chances against them. It's scary, really. I mean, 24 shots away from home. And I wouldn't even say it was Leipzig's best performance of the season, really. I mean, the goals were pretty basic mostly, but still a good win for them. And they'll be happy after kind of make up for the Mainz defeat a couple of weeks ago as well. Okay, so on to the last game of the weekend. Yeah, talking of Mainz, it was a big win for Mainz. I mean, this probably wasn't the best game of football you're ever going to see, but I mean, for Mainz, obviously the penalty through Niakate, it looked as though it had missed, to be honest. It clattered against the post, and in a rare bit of luck for the lower teams, it actually just about claimed the other side of the net and just got in. I mean, usually you see them hit the other post and come out somehow for the bottom teams, don't you? But in this case, it did go in, and they got a big win, Rory, there.
Yeah, I think they've given themselves a slice of hope. Yeah, for sure, which is good to see for the Bundesliga. I think obviously we were saying that we don't want a relegation race where it's boring. We know where the bottom two are going to finish and stuff. So yeah, that win certainly gives them hope. They've obviously their win against RB as well. So some unexpected wins for Mainz fans has really kind of boosted their chances. 4 points off Bielefeld, obviously with a game. Bielefeld have that game in hand right now. But yeah, I mean, the picture was a lot worse 2, 3, 4 games ago. So fair play to them. Bit of squad togetherness, good performance. Obviously, the red card for Union kind of kills the game after a while. Schlotterbeck will have better afternoons, giving away the pen and 2 yellow cards, red card. Yeah, not good. Union are stumbling a little bit, but that's to be expected. They were well above what they should be achieving anyway. And I'm sure they'll kind of get on another run anyway. That's just not quite happening for them right now. So big win for Mainz, and hopefully they'll pick up some more wins to make it even tighter.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously for Union, I mean, it is 3 defeats in 4 and only 1 point in those, but it's certainly nothing to worry about. I mean, they've got 29 points, 28 points. They're way away from any relegation trouble. So yeah, I mean, they can just cruise through the rest of the season and try and get the form back, really. So that concludes our 8-match review of week 20. So let's take a look, over to the hero and zero of the week.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's round up the show very quickly with our hero and zero. Just starting with the hero of the week. Tricky one. There was a few good performances, but we ended up going with Kostic of Frankfurt for his performance today as we're recording. A goal and 2 assists in another mightily impressive performance for Frankfurt. So well done, Philip Kostic. You are the hero of the week. Enjoy your 3 points and your great performance. So very well done. Moving on to the zero, quite an easy one this week. One standout, as we've already just mentioned him, would have been Mr. Schlotterbeck of Union. Nico, giving away a penalty and getting sent off in a game. You're never going to be too popular with your teammates, certainly for that one. So yeah, bad day at the office for Nico Schlotterbeck. You're the zero of the week. And that rounds up the show, the Bundesliga show for this week. As our regular viewers will be aware, we've now actually moved our predictions into a separate and new show that airs on a Thursday night. So keep an eye out for that. So we'll be doing that for the rest of the season and going forth in general. So please do check that out. Put in your predictions as you look forward to the weekend's games. Let us know how we're getting on. Leave us a few comments on the anagram. If you're enjoying the show, please do subscribe as well. It means a lot to myself and Mark to hear some, really positive stuff from everyone who comments. That's brilliant. We'll keep on going as long as the Bundesliga football keeps on going. So over to Mark to finish off this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember to check out our Twitter feed, which is at @OverTheBarFB. We've actually had a really big thing this week as well with our League One host, Dave Pearson, has actually had a professional football player on a live interview. Yeah. So, I mean, when this goes live, that will already be available for you to watch. So please check that out, guys. I mean, this is like a real breakthrough. It's the first time on this channel we've ever had like a live interview with a footballer. Obviously, we've had some fantastic guests on this channel before, but this is something of a pioneering thing for OTB. So check that out and make sure you kind of follow everything. Yeah, remember to check out the site as well, otbfootball.net. So that's everything for this week. So remember, do the anagram, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all next week, guys.
See you next week.